Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you've not had the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at justsaying.no.gwjs for article and video updates. All right, Jack, week 15 continues at 1 o'clock on Sunday after the Saturday games. Everyone, don't forget, on Saturday there is going to be a game at night when the Carolina Panthers make their way to Buffalo to take on the Bills. What are your thoughts on this one? Bills coming off of a really close win in overtime, but Tom Brady said no to them.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the Panthers right now, definitely something to prove. Their last three games, they have not had a win. Buffalo right now, 7-6, definitely not hitting the panic button yet, but they wanted to, this is a team we expect to, have an advantage going in. They're a top three scoring offense. They're the sixth best, the top six scoring offense, top three scoring defense. This is a very well balanced Bills team. As we said, they have just had a lot of heavy competition this year. They've lost 3 out of their last 4. After starting 6-3, we expected them to kind of have a little bit better performance coming up to this point, but it's tough. Both these teams are kind of both gunning for playoff spots at this point.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with the Bills off the bat. As great as this Panthers defense is, their offense has just not looked the same at all. Robbie Anderson is barely involved. DJ Moore they feed him a lot in the first half and they kind of get away from him. Yeah. There's still no Christian McCaffrey. They're currently 0-11 under Cam Newton. We saw last week them started with Cam Newton, then he started to have a bad game. They switched to PJ Walker and they switched back to Cam Newton. And now they have Sam Darnold coming back and they're sitting here with 3 quarterbacks who can't really operate the offense, it looks like. And I was big on, I was big on Sam Darnold. I was saying for a while, if this team isn't it, then I don't know what the future holds for him anymore. And they're sitting here at a 5-8 record after starting out so hot. I don't trust that offense right now. I think that they're, capable of putting up points, but in terms of finishing games and sustaining drives and things like that, it just hasn't clicked for them so far this season.
Yeah, and the Bills are favored by 10.5 in this one. They're at home. Carolina on the road with, as you mentioned, just kind of figuring out their offense right now. Running an offense under Sam Darnold and running it under Cam Newton are 2 totally different things. And you have to be able to play against this Buffalo defense that's going to cause disruption for almost all of them. The Buffalo defense lost Tre'Davious White, as we mentioned, last week. He lost him on Thanksgiving for the rest of the season, and it's definitely affected their defense. I just don't have confidence, like you said, in the Carolina Panthers offense. Chuba Hubbard, we thought he would be doing stuff. He has not had 10 plus carries since week 8. We're in week 15. That's definitely worrisome to me. You got to go with the Bills at home on this.
Yeah. One. Since I'm back from Cam Newton, they have not won a game in almost a month. We're coming up to now. That game was November, actually more than a month. That was November 14th. They said that. We're now already on December 18th. It's been over a month since they have won a game. Jeez. Not what you want to see this late in the season. Moving on, we have the New York Jets heading to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Dolphins won the first battle in this one. There was no Zach Wilson that he was injured at the time. Joe Flacco stepped in. Zach Wilson is back. Some COVID news for the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle is put on the COVID reserve list. He tested positive. He will not be in for this game. Devontae Parker is back. We saw him just 2 weeks ago when we saw the Giants get to play, and he played great. So expect him to be the main component of this passing offense outside of Mike Gesicki. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Jets are in a tough spot right now. They're definitely not, as healthy as we'd like them to be. Michael Carter, Elijah Moore dealing with injuries. As you mentioned, Jalen Waddle on the other side of the ball, very, unfortunate. He's having such an excellent season right now. He had set the record when we went to the game for the most, receptions for a Dolphins rookie in history, and for a franchise like that, that's a big loss to not have that guy. But the Dolphins defense, we've been talking about it, they've really only allowed 17 points over this 5-game win streak that they're riding only once. And under that, they've only allowed 9 to 10 points. It's going to be about them making Zach Wilson uncomfortable. We see what he's like when he gets uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you're talking about the no Michael Carter and things like that, and that's been a huge component. Last week when they played the Saints, they only had 17 carries total, and 4 of them went to their quarterback alone. Zach Wilson dropped back 42 times, wasn't even able to complete 50% of his passes. Crazy. No touchdowns, no interceptions, which is always good. but they were just not able to move the ball really at all against the Saints last week. And you're hoping in a game like this against a division opponent, you at least see a little bit more from them. But I'm going to stick with Miami. I think they continue the win streak going. I like the way that Tua has now really grasped this offense late in the season, and their defense is hitting stride at the most important time when it comes to doing that. We're now late in the season, playoffs are happening. The way that the Bills have been playing, the Dolphins could somehow squeak in front of them now if they win their games and the Bills drop a few more. Like, this is exactly where you want your defense to be. This is exactly where you want your offense to be right now. If you're the Dolphins, they're competing in every single game. I think that they get the win over the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of just a lock for me with the Dolphins right now. I think even without them having Jalen Waddle, again, big hit, but I think they can still get it done. We've seen them do it in the Ravens game this year. We've seen them do it with the Giants with their backup quarterback. Just, they're able to get disruptive. I think that at home, this is, a good time for the Dolphins. They're riding high right now.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. We have the Tennessee Titans making their way to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. Now, last week, Steelers gave me a little heart attack in that second half. That third quarter comeback was terrifying when they put 21 points. I really was not enjoying that game. Thank God the Vikings actually got it done there for a second. But what are your thoughts going into this one as they face the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, two gritty defenses, very well coached teams. Right now Pittsburgh, they're in must-win mode. 6-6-1. Tennessee's sitting nice. They're the third seed. In the AFC, they have a division head-to-head on the Colts right now. Definitely a great opportunity. For both of these teams to try to push themselves higher in this tight AFC playoff picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the way that sadly right now for the Steelers, they're only a game behind the Bengals and the Browns, who are both 7-6. So you're hoping that they can show up and win this one. I'm not sure what to expect from the offense this week with the way that Claypool was so effective last week, but he had that huge bumble of a move where after they got the first down on a crucial third down, he opted for a celebration and was allowing precious seconds to tick off the clock when they had to get the ball downfield faster, killed about 4 to 6 seconds to them, which is not what you want to see from your young player. Mike Tomlin had some choice words for him after the game in the press conference, was really not enjoying that his player chose to do that on Thursday night game again in the final 2 minutes driving down the field to tie the game. So I'm curious to see how involved he's going to be coming into this one. Is it a punishment? Maybe he has less percentage of snaps. Or given that you're in a win now situation, do you make sure he still just plays a percentage and kind of ignore what happened last week?
Yeah, I don't think that a guy like Mike Tomlin is in the position that he's in and has been in for so long without, having to teach his players, especially young ones, those kind of lessons. I think that, he is, he's a vet, Mike Tomlin, so he's definitely there to make sure that, Chase Claypool's there to develop as best as he can. Obviously, you don't want to see that when you're trying to make a huge comeback primetime game, something that costs you precious time on the clock there in the 2-minute drill. For me, I really think that it's going to move forward in this. I think it's definitely good for Deontay Johnson. He has had double digits in all but 2 games this year. I think that Claypool is going to maybe miss a couple opportunities and some play calls to him this week. But like you said, they do have to understand it's business where they are in the season right now. If he learned his lesson and moved on, good. They gotta win this. They gotta go get Tennessee. No Derrick Henry or AJ Brown for Tennessee is also a huge bonus.
Yeah, it's because of that I kind of want to go with the Steelers. Just the way that the Titans played last week against the Jaguars, it wasn't super pretty. They got the shutout win, winning 20-0, but it just wasn't as pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was a team that they should have put up 40 points against, especially if they had AJ Brown and Julio Jones and Derrick Henry. You'd expect them to put up a lot, but they didn't. And their offense hasn't quite looked the same since all of those injuries. They do get Julio Jones back for this one. That's going to be big, although we haven't seen him in a lot of action so far for the Titans, not the way that everyone was expecting. You're hoping that on the 21st, when AJ Brown can get activated off of IR and he gets back in the fold, that their offense really gets going later on in the season. But I'll go with the Steelers on this one for a surprise win. Titans do have a 2-game lead over the Colts. So if they lose this game, they'll still have a lead in the AFC South, but that game's behind slowly gets cut a little bit shorter. And yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's just the same thing with the Steelers. I think that they have such a competitive division going on right now. We've seen them play, not so pretty games, and we've seen them, make some big comebacks. Ryan Tannehill this year also has been not so good at keeping the football clean. He only has 14 passing touchdowns and only 13 interceptions, which is a lot. I'm pretty sure right now leading the league. Not what you want to see from him. The Steelers defense, we were able to see them, help Minnesota make some mistakes last week at distribution, disruption. And, I think the Steelers at home right now, I like them in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So do I. Moving on in the not so greatest game of the weekend, we have the Houston Texans heading to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Now, some news from Jacksonville. Head coach Urban Meyer has been fired. Reports were coming out that he had kicked their kicker, Josh Lambo, during the offseason. Scott Conn said, enough is enough. You're out of here. What are your thoughts going into this one? Trevor Lawrence coming off 4 interception game. He's going to have an intermed coach.
Yeah. I mean, it's, coming off a bad game, definitely wants to, kind of clean up. But I think this is a good opportunity for them to open the playbook up a little bit more than they have this year. I get that they're trying to develop Trevor, but they're not playing for anything at this point in the season. This is an easy divisional opponent that Trevor actually had, multi-interception game against them earlier this season. So it's kind of an opportunity for, him to get redemption from last time that they played. And, I think that this opens up a lot more for James Robinson. We've been joking about how Urban Meyer's trying to get his guy Carlos Hyde some extra carries this year. But at the end of the day, we're also looking at it as James Robinson needs to be opened up. They need to start looking to next year and developing Trevor these next couple weeks. I'm expecting a big game from him, honestly. I think that Jacksonville actually takes this one at home without Urban, because this is what we've seen with some teams who just bounce back out of the locker room and they just put it all together for a week. I'm liking that with Jacksonville this week.
Yeah, I like it too. We've kind of see it. The Raiders did it earlier this season, after John Gruden was fired or resigned, got to not be fired, I guess. But they bounced back. They won that game. I do expect them to do the same. I just think that the Jaguars somehow need this more than the Texans, which is not something that you'd expect to say, given what's been going on with the Texans and Deshaun Watson's off the field issues, and then trading DeAndre Hopkins for nothing in an offseason and firing Bill O'Brien as the GM head coach. Like, they've gone through a lot. And it's so weird for me to say that the Jaguars need this more than them. But if you want any hope, I think, of salvaging your rookie quarterback season, like you're saying, and you want to build towards the future, and you gotta win a game like this against an easy opponent. I think another loss to this Jacksonville team begins to really affect your young franchise quarterback. And that's not what you want. That's just that will not help you going forward. That's only going to hurt you going forward. So I'm with you. I think Jacksonville surprises in this one. They win this game. It's probably going to be a close game, relatively high scoring, with both teams not playing great, but I think ultimately Jacksonville walks out on top, and that'll be good for them this late in the season. So they just need something of a small win for them, I think.
Yeah, and it's just time for them to start to look ahead and move on, and it's an easier opponent than they'll be facing the rest of the year. So a good opportunity for Trevor.
Nah, absolutely. All right, moving on. NFC East battle, buddy. When the Dallas Cowboys make their way to New York to face your Giants. No Daniel Jones in this one again. Still has the neck injury. So Mike Glennon is going to be getting the start. There were conversations that Jake Fromm might be also seeing some action in this one, just because Mike Glennon has not really played exceptionally well. So what are your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah. Dallas, this is a tough game for us, especially when we're not healthy. These guys, they know the Giants, they know how to beat the Giants, how to disrupt our offense. And, unfortunately, last time we played them was when Saquon Barkley, accidentally hurt his ankle walking to the sideline. And, this is, I feel like we haven't gotten to face Dallas this year at full strength, but definitely not going to be this week. Kadarius Toney's still out. This offense has just not been clicking. Last week against the Chargers, it was, they were just allowing anything to happen for the other team's defense. And, I think the Cowboys, they've just been so good at, stepping up in these games with beatable opponents this year, dominating. They had a hot start last week. Philly and Washington are 6-7 right now. So, they understand what's at stake. The Cowboys, they're looking to get to a playoff run, and they're the second highest scoring offense. So it's hard for me to pick the Giants in this one. I got to go with Dallas out the gate, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have to lean with you between the injuries you guys have suffered at running back and quarterback and wide receiver. I mean, you hope that Barkley in this one makes your team a little bit more, you guys fight a little bit more than you have been in some of these games, just because he'll be healthy. You're facing division opponent, of
Yeah.
course. The New York Dallas rivalry is great, things like that. So you're hoping for more of a game. But, Nora Dory Jackson also at the reserve COVID list. We talked about this in our other video. Every team, I swear to God, has a positive COVID test. There is someone out for every single team. Over 120 players have contracted it. And that's a huge loss for your secondary. He's been playing pretty solid so far. That just opens up the passing lanes for the Cowboys a little bit more. And they're stacked when it comes to pass catchers, whether it's Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup or CeeDee Lamb. They can just kind of do it all. I think it's a tough game for you guys, although I do hope New York puts up a fight at least.
Yeah, we got to put up some fight. Our defense has stepped up in a lot of games. Got to give a shot to them, but just not the opponent you want to face here when you're not fully healthy. They've been dealing with injuries all year. It's just another year for the Giants, unfortunately. Getting the injury bug, and Dallas right now, they're healthy. They're looking good. They're on a good streak. I'm going with them.
Yeah, I like it. All right, moving on to last game in the 1:00 slot. We have the Arizona Cardinals making their way to Detroit to face the Lions. Still no DeAndre Swift for the Lions, dealing with the shoulder injury, the AC sprain that he suffered on Thanksgiving Day. I do actually expect to hear a report coming out that they are shutting him down for the rest of the season, probably coming out in the next week after this one, especially if they lose this game to the Cardinals. They'll be sitting at 1-12, playoff hopes pretty much out of sight, out of mind. You don't want to risk one of your best young players getting injured or aggravating the shoulder even more. So I do expect them to shut that down. Jamal Williams still on the reserve COVID list. He was there last week, could be activated, but it's not looking like it's leaning towards that way going into this one. So we will be seeing a lot of Craig Reynolds and Godwin Igwebuike again in this one. So what are your thoughts? Cardinals coming off of a loss to the Rams.
Yeah, and no D-Hop for the Cardinals. I think that right now it's definitely a good opportunity for them to, involve AJ Green, as we saw a little more last week, involve, Rondell Moore, the rookie out of Purdue, Christian Kirk, who's had a solid season this year. This is a good opportunity for the Cardinals to bounce back. It's kind of a tight division right now, a tight conference, I should say. The Cardinals are sitting at third in the NFC race, right behind Tampa, right behind right behind Packers. And, I think that they getting a win here, since they're tied with those teams for wins, but not essentially head-to-head tiebreakers, I think that, the Cardinals are going to really step up in this one. And no real running back threat for the Lions, no TJ Hawkinson for the rest of the year. I think the Cardinals eat in this one.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go with the Cardinals in this one. They're also getting Chase Edmonds, who's going to be starting in this one. So James Conner will have a little bit of a rest for himself. He's also playing. He's listed as questionable, but I expect him to play. But, just sharing the workload a little bit takes off of James Conner, who's just been an absolute beast since stepping in for Edmonds. Yeah. But I think you're absolutely right. The Lions, they're pretty injured right now. The Cardinals are as well. But I think when you're looking at what you're talking about in this playoff picture, Green Bay has the tiebreaker over Arizona. So they have the bye week essentially in the first round, and then they're behind Tampa Bay and only have a 1-game lead against the Rams. A loss right now, and they're tied to the 1-1 in the division against the Rams. All of a sudden we're talking about they're not winning the NFC West, and they don't get the title crown, and they're in a position where they can still get that first round bye. And if you're that team, you want it to go through your home field. You don't want to go away game after away game after away game. You want to play every game at home if possible. So there's a lot on the line right now for the Cardinals. And I've talked about it week after week after week. When you're facing the teams you're supposed to beat, that you should beat, you got to go out there and get it done. Yeah. The Vikings didn't do it 2 weeks ago. And it's going to be one of those games that I'll circle on the list if we don't make the playoffs to say, should have won that game, would have given us that 1-game edge. True. This is going to be one of those games for the Cardinals. You don't just, you got to beat the easy opponents. You got to get the wins right now. You got the division and you got the playoffs pretty much all hinging on this game as you move forward. So I'm locking in the Cardinals. This is a must-win game in my eyes for them, even though it's against the Lions. So
yeah, definitely. They gotta win out now. That's the mentality they got to have, winning this division. So yeah, Cardinals it is.
Yeah, I love it. All right, that's all the time that we have. Thank you for listening, and thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, I always thank you guys for checking us out, supporting us. YouTube, Just Saying Football, justsayingfootball.com. And for all our article video updates, check us out on Instagram, Just Saying No GWJS. Thank you guys for checking us out.
Enjoy the games.
Enjoy.